Hello, back to another video. Just went going on a hike. I want to talk about a few things, change, and how sometimes change can bring so much anxiety to the people around us, anxiety to the people that we know, because they are not familiar with the part of us that wants to be different or that wants change. And this is really normal to experience in, a family that hasn't really taught so much about life, and there's almost like a fear-based expectation from them to do better. So how do I deal with change? I deal with change ideally when there are some things that is not going in my favor. So I just, easily get snapped out of it. But I do get doubts in that time when I am changing, because some people might not really enjoy that. Some people don't like change because of certain habits, because of certain things, and I totally get that. And I think the change too can happen, especially with like parents or family members who don't, who weren't quite encouraging to bring about change. And I totally get that, because, there, are some stages in our life where it's okay to, have those, challenges where some of our family members don't like the part of us that wants to change, because they often think, oh, this person is changing, or this person is not the person that I raised or how they used to be. One thing to go about it is to ask yourself, are you hurting anyone by bringing about change? Are you causing any difficulties to that person? And is what you're doing aligned with yourself? So that means, is what you're doing aligned to your values and vision? Because oftentimes we look at other people, we look at our family members to validate what we're doing, because we don't trust ourselves enough to take the choices. And I get that it can be really scary. I get that it can make us feel like isolated or make us feel not supported. But worst case scenario is that they don't accept that person. But it always comes down to, are you willing to not validate yourself? Are you willing to sacrifice your needs for others? And for how long are you going to do that if you decided so? So as much as it's a difficult choice or a difficult thing to navigate, I want you to remember that these things take time, and those people in your life will take time to accept that part of you. But the biggest thing you can do for yourself is to have faith and trust that whatever it is that you're doing is for yourself. And I'm speaking from experience, because I've had times where I was rejected and I wasn't clearly the person that they wanted me to be. But that also speaks about the fact that I'm not willing to sacrifice myself for them. Now, the question that I usually ask myself is am I really harming them by being the person that I am? If there is any harm, then I would probably, or likely, to even think that maybe it's not the right choice. But the more that I started to own myself, the more that I started to seek out my own compass, likely you're going to make a lot of, bad decisions, or You're gonna make choices that don't align with everybody else, and that is okay. So I'm here kind of speaking from experience, just to how things can change quickly, but it doesn't mean that you cannot bounce back once these challenges arise. And remember that you're the only one in control of how you feel, and a way to come back to that compass, to that inner compass, is to ask yourself, what feels right in the moment? What feels aligned with myself? What feels true to me, instead of what feels true to others? Change, yes, it requires you to also have compassion with those people that find it difficult to accept you for the change that you are bringing and the change that you are about to have in your life, even personally, right? So remember that you cannot really change those people in your life. You cannot really expect them to accept you, accept them to love you, or accept them to be okay with the person that you're becoming. Because with people that have a closed mind, right, that have closed-mindedness and not really know your interests to heart, they don't really know why you're doing the things that you're doing, because they don't have a wide compass or a wide view about why you're doing it. And change, yes, it requires you to also have compassion with those people that find it difficult to accept you for the change that you are bringing and the change that you are about to have in your life, even personally, right? So remember that you cannot really change those people in your life. You cannot really expect them to accept you, accept them to love you, or accept them to be okay with the person that you're becoming. Because with people that have a closed mind, right, that have closed-mindedness and not really know your interests to heart, they don't really know why you're doing the things that you're doing, because they don't have a wide compass or a wide view about why you're doing it. And with certain people, you need to come to conclusion that just accept them the way they are, as much as you are expecting them to accept you the way that you are. And to bring about a change in person takes your whole life. It would take forever to do that. So it's not your responsibility, or it's not up to you to decide that you want to change that person, to decide that you no longer want that person to be that the way they are. I think I spent my whole life trying to please, or trying to expect people to change, or change them so much that I'm actually hurting myself in that process, because I didn't realize or didn't know that it's not my responsibility. I thought like it must be my responsibility that I'm changing, and especially that I'm within the family, within that space, then I need to accept them, and I need to accept the change that's bringing on. But it wasn't helping at all. What I needed to do is to challenge myself to accept that they're not going to accept that part of me. And that takes a lot of courage, that takes resilience, that takes a lot of understanding of self, and that takes a lot of you valuing yourself for the person that you are. Because you can never go along pleasing everybody around you, especially your parents or family, and expecting them to love the person that you are. Because it needs to come internally from you that in order to accept that part of you, you need to let go of the expectations you have from others and how they're gonna see you. The more you dive deep, the more you are in that space where you are judging, where you are having high expectations of the person, you're likely to disown yourself. Because if you're caring so much about what they think and how they're going to perceive you, you're never going to have this sort of peace within yourself, right? And it takes someone with compassion, with that has an open perspective, an open mind, to actually see you as the person that you are. So although it's difficult and you need to challenge your beliefs, you need to challenge the person that you've always become for those people and step into a new identity. What does that mean? Like, when we step into a new identity, it doesn't mean that you disown every part of you. It doesn't mean that everything you're brought up with is negative or it's bad. It only means that you need to reconsider the beliefs that you took on. Is it true? Does it sound right in that moment? Or is it conflicting with your own values? And the way I like to go about it is to ask myself, like, what are my top 4 values, right? And these might change while you evolve and change. And it's okay that it changes from, I wouldn't say weeks, but maybe every month and so, from month to month, or, once in a while. So it's to ask yourself, what are my top 4 values? Am I living by those values? Because I kid you not, if you know right away when you're not in alignment with those values, you'll know right away, because something inside of you deep down feels so inauthentic. It feels so disconnected. You feel like you can't resonate. It's not that you're convincing yourself, but it's just that your past self is not resonating with your present self at the moment. And I'm very interested in those like concepts and ideas, because I feel like that's how we grow as humans. And I've been learning and diving deep into these like human studies and things, and how we behave, how we speak, how what we put out there, how we perceive things, and how our actions are based of those perceptions and beliefs. Because you might have a certain belief about yourself, and then the one action that you take, it will definitely be out of alignment, because you're not living by those top values. I pray by these, I stand by these, and more and more that I'm learning about these, I get super curious, and I just thought that this will be important to share. And anyone who I talk with, anyone who I come across with, kind of like to observe them as a person, and what they are and who they are and what they think. It sparks my curiosity, really. So just reflect on those things while you're watching this, or after you're watching this video. What are your top values, and are you living by them? And many more people nowadays in the spiritual personal development talk about this, and yet it's not enough, because we hear things and we just push it away. We hear things, we don't really resonate, or it doesn't necessarily click like this. And those values are the things that will move you forward in life. Because if you're lost in life and you don't know what your value is, you might cling on to things that don't resonate with you, but you think is right. So for me, my top value is freedom. And I know that if I don't have freedom, I just feel out of alignment. I don't feel connected. I don't feel I can live freely. I don't feel like I can do things that bring me joy or passion, because of that value. And when I'm living out of alignment with that value, I know it, because everything around me just feels vague. It feels almost empty, and I don't resonate. And the stories I keep telling myself is like, am I weird that I'm feeling this way at the moment? Or why is this emotion coming up? And I know that I go back to my values. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It makes sense that I was feeling that way because I wasn't living in freedom. I wasn't really speaking myself. So freedom can be anything. It's not really just physically free, but freedom can be freedom of thought, freedom of just doing whatever that you want, freedom of expressing yourself. I think that's a huge one for me. And knowing that, it helps me navigate the world easily, because I can snap myself back to that top value and ask myself again, am I living with alignment or am I not? And if I'm not, what do I need to do to connect back to myself, to connect to that value of freedom? What does freedom mean to me? If I'm in freedom, how am I thinking? How am I feeling? How am I living? What actions do I take? And what are some things I'm not doing that I need to be doing to live the value of freedom? But anyways, that was really it. So reflect on these values, see what resonates with you. I really think it's so valuable. That's why I'm really holding on to it and talking about it. But I will see you guys in another video, and I hope you got something valuable.